members of the SPLM National Liberation Council, SPLM elected governors of Unity State and Lakes State, other leaders of SPLM, ladies and gentlemen of the press, today is a historical day, and may I, in the beginning, ask you, Comrade Deputy Chairman of the SPLM and the leaders of SPLM, together with the members of the media in Juba, to rise for a minute in respect and honor of a great freedom fighter, a beacon of the highest human spirit, freedom and justice and dignity, for the passing away of freedom fighter Nelson Mandela Madiba, who passed away last night, but who continue to live in our hearts as freedom fighters eternally. Again, also our national prayer. Oh God, we praise you and glorify you for your grace on South Sudan, land of great abundance, uphold us united in peace and harmony. Oh motherland, we rise, raising flag with the guiding star, singing songs of freedom in joy. For justice, liberty, and prosperity shall forevermore reign. We stand up in silence and respect, saluting our martyrs. Blood cement the foundation of our nation. We vow to protect our nation. Oh God, bless South Sudan. Thank you very much. Political Bureau, National Liberation Council have come to address members of SPLM and to address the nation on very serious, grave national issues and crises. This by the Deputy Chairperson of SPLM, wife, partner and comrade of the historical and internal leader of the SPLM, Dr. John Garang Debobia. And Comrade Denga Lorpol, member of the SPLM Political Bureau, Comrade Alfred Lado, member of the SPLM leadership, Comrade Choltong, elected SPLM governor of Lakes State, removed unconstitutionally from his position against the will of the people who elected him and against the will of the SPLM. These comrades will address you on the issues of concern. Without much ado, I call on the Deputy Chairperson of the SPLM, Dr. Yagmeka Artany, to address the SPLM members and to address the nation, the region, and the international community on the issues of concerns to all of us.
This press statement on behalf of my comrades short message to all of us, and particularly to people of the Republic of South Africa, for the great loss of the great man Nelson Mandela. I read, in the late hours of yesterday, we learned with deep sorrow the death of Nelson Mandela. We join the people of and millions of people all over the world in paying tribute to him, and also in which inspired our struggle, freedom, justice, and democracy. Nelson Mandela loves all peace-loving people worldwide. There could have been no better time than this press conference today to express our mourning for the loss of this icon. This is an appropriate coincidence to call for democracy in this country. We call upon the government, our government, to declare 3 days of mourning and all the national flags to fly at half-mast. This is our condolence message to our people and to the rest of the world, and particularly people of South Africa. Thank you. People of South Sudan, distinguished members of the press, Salam alaikum. We, the members of the SPLM Politburo, National Liberation Council, and SPLM leaders have called this press conference to enlighten our people on the internal crisis that has engulfed the SPLM leadership and paralyzed its functions in the government and also in our society. The crisis started immediately after the tragic death of the SPLM historical and internal leader, Dr. John Garang de Mabior, and manifested itself in the following. I enumerate. 1, the anti-Garang elements inside and outside the SPLM encircle our current leader, Comrade Salva Kiir Mayardit, leadership of the SPLM and the government of South Sudan. And this started. This phenomenon compromised SPLM positions. Certain SPLM leaders and cadres, they nicknamed Garang's orphans or boys, creating schisms and precipitating open quarrels within the SPLM ranks. 2, the shift in decision-making process from SPLM national organs to regional and ethnic lobbies around the SPLM chairman. When it came to appointments to positions in government, that membership of the SPLM and one's participation in the revolutionary struggle became irrelevant. SPLM is not really the ruling party. In practice, decisions are essentially made by one person, and in most cases, directed by regional and ethnic lobbies and close business associates surrounding the SPLM chairman. 3, the efforts to transform the SPLM from a liberation movement into a mass-based political party have totally been frustrated by the chairman. General Salva Kiir ignored the grassroots views and demands garnered between July and August 2012 for the SPLM reorganization. The Politburo, the only organ that met, nonetheless, it had been difficult to translate its resolutions into plans of action in the executive or legislation in the National Assembly because of lack of collective leadership and the paralysis of the General Secretariat. 4, there is no formal communication between the party organs at the national level and those in the states, county, Payam, and Buma levels. The government drives the SPLM rather than the other way around. The SPLM chairman now uses his executive powers as President of the Republic, relying on his presidential advisor to manage the SPLM and the country. The crisis reached boiling point in March 2013 when General Salva Kiir canceled and issued a presidential decree withdrawing the delegated powers from his vice president, who is me, and first deputy chair of the SPLM. Other decrees followed, including the dismissal on false grounds, actually unconstitutionally, of the governors of lakes and unity states. The dismissal and the appointment of a new cabinet and the suspension of the SPLM Secretary General, which we challenge in court, although the court ruled otherwise. We want to assure our people that these were personal decisions by General Salva Kiir, since neither the Politburo nor the National Liberation Council deliberated on these decisions, which have far-reaching implications for the SPLM and the country. The SPLM chairman has completely immobilized the party, abandoned collective leadership, jettisoned attention to decision-making. The SPLM is no longer the ruling party. The leader of South Sudan Democratic Forum heads the SPLM Governor Cabinet. You know that. Or converts from the NCP now lead the National Legislative Assembly and the Council of States, respectively. The chairman did not care to appoint second or third-tier SPLM leaders and cadres to occupy these positions if he had trouble with the first-tier leaders like us. In the army, General Salva Kiir has demobilized the seasoned SPLA commanders and made them redundant. This action amounts to erasing the historical legacy of the SPLM, suggesting that Comrade Kiir is on track to form his personal army, presidential guards, intends to form his own political party linked to the NCP and has nothing to do with the historical struggle. The chairman unconstitutionally dissolved key SPLM organs, namely the Political Bureau, the National Liberation Council, the Nation and the State Secretariat, on account that their mandates had expired in May 2013. He has already instructed the state governors, actually twice. The last instructions were in the governors' forum. And instead of instructing the state SPLM secretariats to appoint their preferred delegates to the SPLM Third National Convention, which is scheduled for February 2014. The intention is to sideline and prevent SPLM historical leaders and cadres characterized as potential to be a very dangerous move and is likely to plunge the party and the country into abyss. We want to bring to the attention of the masses of our people that our chairman, General Salva Kiir, has surrendered the SPLM power to opportunists and foreign agents. These actions undermine the hard-won independence and sovereignty of the Republic. You are aware that these days there's a talk of there's delay even in payment of salaries, which did not happen during the austerity measures. What concerns us is that the government of South Sudan is misleading the public, that it is servicing the 4.5 billion US debt, which purported to have been incurred during the austerity measures. Some of us were sitting on the committee which was responsible for it. We are surprised where this figure came from. It is not known where these monies were loaned from and on what they were spent, as the country had been under austerity regime since April 2012. This is definitely a question of corruption that must be addressed together with the Dura Saga. For those who do not know, the Dura Saga report is ready. It is ready. We hope it should be published so that those who talk about corruption know who had been doing this corruption. And it was done by the World Bank, by the way. Even the shady road contracts, those are available. The gentlemen and the ladies of the press should even get access to that. And this is coupled with the issue of the 75 letters of defamation of SPLM historical leaders and cadres, which pains many of us, because we know there are many, many innocent. The deep-seated divisions within the SPLM leadership, exacerbated by dictatorial tendencies of the SPLM chairman, and the dysfunctional SPLM structures from national to local levels are likely to create instability in the party and in the country. For these reasons, and out of sincere concern about the future of our people, we, the SPLM members of the Politburo and the leadership of the party, are obliged to inform the public about the true state of affairs in the SPLM and how General Salva Kiir is driving our beloved Republic of South Sudan into chaos and disorder. In order to we hereby call on the SPLM chairman to convene the political bureau to set the agenda for the National Liberation Council so as to correct the deviation from the SPLM vision and direction and address the present challenges within the SPLM with the view of revitalizing and restoring the SPLM to the driving seat. I want to stress, with the view of revitalizing and restoring the SPLM to the driving seat. The SPLM should hold the steering wheel of the two historical processes of nation building and state building. Long live the struggle of our people. Glory and honor to our martyrs. Long live South Sudan. Long live SPLM. Viva SPLM, viva SPLM. Thank you very much.
Council, the SPLM leaders, historical leaders, the press, members of press, I greet you in the name of our historical struggle. If you count members or founder members of the SPLM, you will always find me in the first three. And if things are not going the way we were really waging our struggle, I will not keep quiet. Because this country has taken the life of our people since time immemorial. Leaders of this nation, the leaders who were to build this country, they have perished for the struggle of this country. And I ask myself, is this really what we fought for, what we are doing today? As a victim who have lost a beloved person will say no, that's not what we fought for, because our vision, the vision of the SPLM is fight for a just new Sudan. That's what we fought for, the self-determination of people of South Sudan. This is in 1983, and it has never changed. We lost our leader, Dr. John Garang. We have not lost the vision. So, consistently, I have been behind the SPLM. I know that I lost only Dr. John as a person, but his name and the vision live on. I have been behind Comrade Salva Kiir Mayadi. I have never moved anywhere. But in any party, there are always differences. Differences which are addressed inside the house, which are not taken outside. But there is no way that our chairman, Comrade Salva Kiir Mayadi, will give us audience to iron out these differences. As you know, some of the people will say that, but she's an advisor to the president on gender and human rights. Yes, I am. But I'm really frustrated for this because nothing is moving. People are being killed here in Juba. There are a lot of problems in the states. About 5 or 6 states there are problems. Namely, Jonglei State is well known for problems. Unity State, Lake State, Eastern Equatoria, Western Equatoria. This problem has been on, starting with Western Equatoria with Ismail Konyi, LRA Konyi, Joseph Konyi, I mean. CPA. After the CPA, this problem have not stopped. Somebody like me will take it as it is because a newborn nation will always have up and down. But we have never correct ourselves from those problems. As a mother who knows really exactly what is going on, what was going on before and what is going on now, I say this is enough, and enough is enough. I have to talk. But we give a chance for reconciliation among the leaders of the SPLM, but for no avail. We did not get audience to see our chairman, but he took our silence as a weaknesses. And maybe also people, the population of Southern Sudan, may also say what happened with our leaders. Maybe chairman is right. 75 historical leaders were giving letters, and the generals of the SPLA was sacked, and I was wondering what was happening. There's no any country where you sack the cabinet, the whole cabinet, and people keep quiet. And now the money of the oil of Southern Sudan, since May, we don't know where is that money, even though we have put it in our statement. We don't know where is that money. Council of Ministers have not been informed about the loan. Our assembly has not been informed about the loan. And the public, who are the caretakers of our government, have not been informed about the money. And that money was used for what? And everybody is keeping quiet. Now we are out today to inform our populations that your leaders are here and they are talking and the SPLM is still alive. Yes. I wanted to quote our SPLM strategic framework, things that are, it is called SPLM strategic framework for war to peace transition. And everything, the program of the SPLM, the mission, and everything was spelled out in the Constitution, and all the documents are there. I want to read out the key elements of the strategic framework for war to peace transition. Developing institutional infrastructure for better governance. B, developing physical infrastructure. C, regenerating social capital. D, restoring peace and harmony. E, prioritizing agriculture as the engine of economic growth and poverty eradication. F, transforming the SPLM into a peacetime political organization. G, transforming SPLA into a peacetime conventional army. And you are my witness, all these 7. Which one have we done? Mother is always a practical person, not theoretical. If you want your children to eat today, they must eat. You must make sure that your children eat. Now, where is our money? Where is our money? What did we do with the money? We are a rich country. Now, we are being categorized with poor nations. I don't believe that, and I don't accept it, that we are a poor nation. We are not. The problem is that we have not put our priorities right. This is our problem. This crisis, being struggling for presidency, is not correct. Our people are misinformed that Dr. Riek Machar, Madam Rebecca, Comrade Pagan are struggling for the seat of the president. No, I wanted to say today again, what we did was our convention was coming, and then we were going to struggle for the seat of the SPLM, the chair of the SPLM. This is what we're going to struggle, and who will win? This is, in America, they call it a by-election. Primary election. Primary election. But in the South, it's unique in our situation that if somebody says that I want to be the president, you are not allowed to dream. And a dream comes to one person, and that person will be the one to tell people about what he or she has dreamed about. I have dreamt that I wanted to compete with the chairman of the SPLM for the seat of the chairmanship of the SPLM. Is it a bad dream? Our people will be the one to go and judge. Mama Rebecca, you cannot do it. Our chairman, the incumbent, will continue to lead us. Mama Rebecca will go and shake hands with the comrade chairman and say, Mabruk. This is how democracy is done. We talk about democracy and we don't know what shape of that animal is, and we run away. We start to run away from it. There is no freedom of press. There is nothing in the South. Democracy is not allowed. Even we are inside here. Some people did not come because they are fearing that there will be a problem. We don't believe in that because it is in-house. We are doing this within the SPLM. And we are here, the leaders of the SPLM. We have not gone outside. SPLM has not been divided. For other people who may think that SPLM has been divided, it's not correct. So I'm also talking, I'm a voice of the voiceless, the youth. I'm talking on their behalf. And the youth start with me. I have my two children, my two sons. One is 37 and the other one is 33. When is he going to exercise the leadership if we don't give them a chance? We don't give them chances to exercise that. I'm talking about the women. Look here, even in this leadership now, there's only one face of a woman. So I'm fighting also for the women. We want everybody to contribute for this nation building, all of us equally. I wanted to end by giving a quote of John C. Maxwell. If we want to be the best leader you can be, but don't allow insecurity or pettiness or jealousy to keep you away from reaching out to others. I wanted to end like that. SPLM oye! SPLM oye!
Thank you, Comrade First Deputy of the SPLM, members of the SPLM Politburo, National Liberation Council, and members of the party. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, good afternoon. I am happy to be here today, but at the same time I'm saddened as our Secretary General said, and the First Deputy of the SPLM said about the death of our iconic leader, President Mandela. I met him more than three times. He was a great man. I met him with late John Garang. He was a great man, the best son Africa has ever produced. He was committed to freedom. He was committed to democracy. He was committed to equality. He was committed to human rights. He was above all of us. He managed to create the rainbow nation of South Africa, which is a pride to all of us. So the loss of Madiba is a great loss to Africa and a great loss to all those who love humanity in this world. I will talk about only 2 or 3 issues very briefly. Before I come to our issues in the SPLM, I would briefly talk about Abyei. I don't want to bore you with the history of Abyei because it is known to all of you, or most of you. But recently, and based on the proposal of the African Union Peace and Security Council, a proposal which was made by the former President of South Africa, President Thabo Mbeki, and his group. The proposal talked about a referendum to be carried in Abyei in October, and that there would be a commission of 5 to be headed by 2 from South Sudan, 2 from Sudan, and the chair would be from the African Union. The government of Sudan frustrated it. The African Union was unable to move. Before I left, I met the president, and I told him I was going to Abyei. And in fact, even before that, he released all the sons and daughters of Abyei who are in the civil service here and who work in the organized forces to go to Abyei to prepare themselves for the referendum. So before I left, I met him, and we agreed that we should go and conduct the referendum. But I told him, I said, it was unlikely that the African Union would conduct the referendum because of the position of the government of Sudan. And if that happened, then we would conduct a community-based referendum. It could be a precedent in the history of international law, but we had to do it. And indeed, the African Union could not move. So we organized that referendum using local resources, both material and human resources. And our people voted. You heard the result, 99. Many of these journalists were in the area, were in Abyei. I want to thank the people of South Sudan for their support, for their overwhelming support. All the 10 states, all civil society organizations in the 10 states, all the SPLM offices in the 10 states, even the governments in 10 states, the churches of South Sudan, I want to thank them for their support. I want to thank the political parties of South Sudan, all of them, because all of them were in Abyei. All of them were in Abyei, including SPLM. They went with the paper which they presented to the African Union, their position on the referendum, on the outcome. It was great. I want to thank them. I came back and I briefed the president about this. And the president was very happy about the outcome. He asked that we should continue mobilizing the 10 states, which we did and we are still doing. But we had to take this to our National Assembly for final endorsement. Because as you know, the African Union Peace and Security Council went to Abyei on the 5th and 6th of November. And they had meetings with us, with the community. And for the first time, because of what they saw, they could not condemn or reject the referendum. And I think some of you saw the communique, saw the statement. And in that statement, they clearly said, we understood the reasons that led, or the reasons why the people the Ngok Dinka Wabie conducted the referendum. And that's very diplomatic. But that is very positive. What remains now is the position of South Sudan, position of government of South Sudan. If you might have noticed, the whole world is quiet about the outcome. No country in this world condemned the outcome of the referendum, up to now. No international organization, the United Nations, the African Union. It is only the government of Sudan, and it is expected. So what the world is waiting for is the position of Juba. And I think the position of Juba is going to come out very soon, because our parliament is working very hard to pass a resolution in parliament. Although it has been difficult, some people have been going around trying to scare members of parliament that the government of Sudan would be angry. I don't think we are here to please anybody. We are here to have our rights. So I expect our National Assembly to pass a resolution, because there is an overwhelming support in our parliament for Abiy. Coming to the current situation in the SPLM, I think you have been informed by the first deputy of the SPLM and the mother of SPLM, Madam Rebecca, about the state of affairs in the SPLM. I am a very committed human being to democracy. And I think to those comrades who were with me in SPLM, I had been very clear on many issues. I have principles in life, because I don't believe that you can live in this world without certain principles. One of them is democracy in politics. And I have a very strong belief in that. You know, ladies and gentlemen of the press, when the changes happen, I will come to my case later, towards the end. When the changes happen, those who left or those who were removed from SPLM, as you heard in the statement, even those who were removed from SPLA were founding members of this party. 1983. Most of us, since 1983, we have been in this. Those who fought the war, those who negotiated. I'm afraid whether there is anybody in this cabinet who negotiated the agreement. The CPA was negotiated by us. All of us were removed from government. Now you have still issues with the government of Sudan. You need to continue negotiating them. But the government of Sudan thinks that some of us are hardliners. We've got to be removed out of the way. And that's why today, somebody like Comrade Niar, somebody like Comrade Paul Mayom are brought back and put on a committee. Because, you know, in this, it is important to have historical memory of things. Historical memory of the SPLM as a political organization, historical memory of the peace negotiations. Many people didn't know that South Sudan would get the right to self-determination, but we managed to get it. It is the group that managed to get it. People didn't know that we would be able to raise a flag here in Juba, because the implementation was very difficult. We were in Khartoum. We fought in Khartoum. Some of us were put in jail, including the the SG, and some who are not here, just to realize the self-determination and to make sure that the people of the South got what they fought for. Yesterday we were very good boys who struggled for this country. We brought independence. We raised the flag here. Today we are bad boys. Today we are bad boys because of what this has a genesis. It's not something new. It has a genesis. It goes back to 2004 or even beyond. The conflict which we are facing today. It's not something new. We know it because we are SPLM. We know it. But of course, after the death of our leader, John Garang, 2005 in July, when the government was formed, I think in September, August, the same group was not supposed to be in government. That was the decision. So we are not surprised by this move. The same group was not supposed to be in government, in Khartoum or in Juba. But I think for some reasons, some of us got into government and some of us remain out. Immediately after independence, only 2 years down the line after independence, for a liberation movement to have serious internal problems, I think begs a lot of questions. Liberation movements spend 10, 15 years to have serious internal conflicts. But not 2 years. This is too soon. It's too soon for us to have very serious differences within SPLM. But of course, we are dealing with a very serious enemy in Khartoum. Very serious people who want to destroy the South. They have lost the South politically. The South has become a sovereign state, but they want to control it by proxy. And they have to plan people to do this. These are the ones who are destroying this country and this government. The National Congress has planted people in this government. They have encircled, as you heard here, the chairman of SPLM, and they are implementing the agenda of Khartoum. Definitely Khartoum will not be happy with somebody like Pagana Mo, somebody like Deng Alor, somebody like Nyar, somebody like Riek Machar. I'm not regretting that Khartoum will not accept me, because it's. But it is a long history. I'm not going to talk about it. We will talk about it in the SPLM meetings, because some people think that maybe these people are going to create a separate party. This is our party, gentlemen and ladies. This is our party. There is no way any one of us can move out from this party. There is no way anybody can dismiss anybody. It is only the convention that can dismiss. Because we heard the stories before we came that this group was trying to dismiss the chairman from SPLM. No, we know the constitution of the party. We know the rules and regulations of the party. There is no way in a press conference like this you can dismiss somebody. You can't dismiss anybody. Neither can the chairman dismiss anybody. You heard about the structures being dissolved. Dissolved. We were kept in a situation of confusion. A structure are dissolved. Somebody comes and says no. No, somebody still comes and says no, they are really dissolved, and even they try to quote the constitution that we have wrongly. Then the second deputy of the SPLM comes out and says no, they are not dissolved. You have a Minister of Information denying. This is not a government issue. SPLM should have a spokesperson. SPLM should have a spokesperson to deny. You know? But this is the state of things why we are in. A lot of confusion. A lot of confusion. But we are going to talk very openly, because we must leave a legacy. The vision of SPLM that Dr. John died for must be kept alive. Madam Rebecca read to you some of that vision, some parts of that vision. But we have a vision for this country. If there was a vision for this country, you know, we are part of the liberation movements in Africa. We are connected with all liberation cells. Nobody in this government knows that connection. But we know. Nobody knows the connection with Mandela. And that's why they could not lower the flag. But we know. The White House has lowered the flag to have South Sudan. Some African countries have given 3 days of mourning. Mandela was a great person. We are freedom fighters. We are part of the African liberation struggle. You know, some of us have short memories. Many of us do not know how we reach here. How we reach here. Many people do not know. We reach here through a lot of struggle. Some of us are even denying that these guys are not friends and so on. We have friends. We have friends in Africa. Yes. We have friends in the Western world. We have friends in Asia. That's why we came here. If we didn't have friends, true friends, real friends, we wouldn't have been here. Some of us are denying. I know. This last point. The last point. The last point is about myself. You know, last time I was accused of trying to defraud. Accused of corruption. You know, I handle things in SPLM for almost 20 years. Money for this struggle. Everybody was around. If you don't know, many countries used to help us. And the person who used to get this,
More than 20 years.
Yeah, more than 20 years. The person who was getting this was myself. I could have been a multi-billionaire by now. This thing was politically motivated. It was a political charge. Because of the reasons that I have told you, because of some reasons, because I don't belong to that camp. Somebody said that there were 2 big elephants in SPLM, and those 2 elephants got to be destroyed using this case. And that was myself and Comrade Kosimanebe. I don't think we are elephants. But that person said so, because that person today is in charge of, is in the center of decision making. His mission is to destroy SPLM. Destroy all of us, the leaders of SPLM. But I assure you, that will never happen. You can't destroy SPLM. You can't destroy the vision of SPLM. So I want to tell you, this is absolutely not true. I was investigated. The papers were given to the president, and the papers are still on his desk. But you ask yourself, Dr. Yap talked before about real, genuine cases of corruption. If I'm corrupt, I got to be not different. But we in the cabinet, based on reports from the Minister of Justice and the Minister of Finance at that time, and the World Bank, a STAR program of the World Bank, we were presented with the conclusion by the STAR program of how during saga there were 3 white lists, black lists, and something I think gray,
black gray.
Very clear cases of corruption in this country. How the money of this Dura was used. Somebody said the Minister of Justice and the Minister of Finance paid for bringing to light that report of the STAR program. Nobody is being asked about that program of the STAR program, the Dura saga, or the grain saga, whatever you call it. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are fighting a political case. We are not saying that we are removing anybody. We are saying we have to dialogue within SPLM so that we correct things. Nobody is saying the chairman should be removed, or the first deputy should be removed, or the secretary general should be removed. Because that one is decided by the convention, structures of the SPLM. So we are saying, despite all this, what has been told to you, we are ready to dialogue. We are ready to talk. Because we want to keep our party strong, SPLM is strong. We should be the luckiest, because in Africa, you don't get a strong one party like SPLM that's ruling this country.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
First of all, I want to say that this is truly a big moment, a historical moment for us. One, because today we are able to talk to our people throughout the country and also the world, because we have been subjected to all sorts of slanders, and we had kept our cool for our country so that we continue the peace we had fought for. But today we are also holding this important function when a great leader, African leader, world leader, in the person of Nelson Mandela, passed away. Why we attach importance to the passing away of this icon is because he was a formidable ideologue, the chief ideologue of the national liberation movement throughout the world. So we stand with this family, with our fellow brothers and sisters in South Africa and the rest of the world. What has happened in this country is very shameful. You see, for a government just overnight, I don't know what happened at that night, then the following day, a whole cabinet was just thrown into a dustbin. That you are corrupt, you are thieves, you are what and what. But it is good that we kept to our cool. We did not respond until the dust storm that has been swirling all over the country has now settled down. And we have allowed that to happen so that now we can present our views with the clarity of mind. I will not go in details, but it is very important. Why has this country now gone below zero in terms of our image, in terms of we as a people who have just liberated ourselves from Arab colonial yoke. The crisis is the manifestation of the bankruptcy we have now got into. Because one thing is lacking in this country. One thing is lacking in this country. And that thing is the ideology. Yes. Is the ideology. In 1983-4, when I met Comrade John, he told me, Comrade Alfred, I'm not going to the front to organize the troops. I will leave you to organize our people, to mobilize our people, and also to seek the support of the international community. I was then appointed the chief ideologue of the SPLM. And up to today, there is no chief ideologue to talk of. So now what is this? So what is this? Because it is ideology that in the first place took us to the bush. This ideology that took us to the bush to liberate our people, to organize our people, and to be independent like all the other peoples all over the world. Nobody went to the bush because he just dreamed or because somebody told him. No, no. It is in the bush that we wielded the weapon of ideology. We use it as a compass to show us the way. Without ideology, you'll be just stranded like somebody, a blind person in the jungles. You don't know how to steer away from the jungles. But we use that ideology. One, to unite our people. Two, to identify our implacable enemy, which was Khartoum. And it still is Khartoum. So it is this that has led us to triumph. Despite the difficulties, despite the odds we had to surmount. Because dealing with a superior force, like what Khartoum was at that time, given the support it received from the Arab world and some other countries. With that ideology, it would have been impossible for us even to come to the borders of South Sudan. It would have been impossible. But thanks, ideology brought us a new perspective of who we are as South Sudanese. History did not forget us. We welded together until 2005. We entered the South with the triumph and hoisted our flag on the graveyard of the Mujahideen. But unfortunately, and always this happens in history, we must give allowance. Sometimes history can be good, but also it can be bad. In 2005, now we were given the state through the, of course, the CPA agreement. And then we were handed a state, handed by our enemies. And we thought that was a good thing. No. We inherited a fascist state, a state that was used by the enemy to oppress our people, to kill our people, to loot our people. And we did not move because ideology was missing. Ideology was missing. It was not thrown out through the window. Those who were there, who were our cadres like Pagan and the Danga Lords and the others, these fellows were just kept at an arm length, and they were not allowed. They were not allowed even to train our cadres. We lacked cadres in 2005. We lacked cadres. And throughout this period, the state that was given to us was not destroyed. It should have been destroyed, because that is the cardinal principles of the National Liberation Movement. It was not destroyed. And because of that character, and because we did not change the nature of that state, it now started eating us. It started eating us. Insecurity was now rampant. Corruption was now rampant. Now the political vultures in Europe, in America, now started hovering over the South. They were now looking for carcasses to eat. Yeah, many of them were now brought in. And they did not, of course, hesitate. The looting was intensified. You see, to settle their mortgages in Europe and somewhere else. And we were left still suffering, sleeping in tukums, no schools, no roads, nothing. So that became the cause for concern. How do we move this country forward? And of course, by the spirit which we had, we were able to bring independence to our people. But this independence is now in danger. It is now in danger, and that's why we were all chased away. To give room to those elements. Those Al-Qaeda elements are there. Even the mercenaries, those who were fighting us left and right and kill our soldiers in every corner of this country, are now in senior positions. Even when they were defeated in elections, those of Ladogoro were thrown away and they were brought and put there. Well, comrade, you see, ideology is very important. We need to get our ideology of national liberation and national construction back as a force. If this country is to survive, and if this country is to take its place among the free nations of the world. Without ideology, we will be a failed state. All the failed states now, they are about 3, we are 4. We are the 4th. And all those failed states, their leaders have grabbed power. They said, to hell with the rest. It is either us or you. So we cannot allow this. And me and our comrades here, we are not against any particular person, but we want to make our point very clear to our people that there is room for ideology. Our ideology is to protect the interests of our people, is to protect the independence and sovereignty of South Sudan. And we will not be reabsorbed by any country, whether it is a superpower or not. We will remain independent. Thank you very much.
Thank you. SPLM membership and its leadership to work together within the SPLM, correct the mistakes that we have been committing, and ensure that the SPLM provide a visionary
You are fighting the case of independence. You are fighting your own case as people of this nation. That as a young man, under what system are you going to grow? And what type of a nation you are going to inherit? That is the case you are fighting. I thank you very much. And continue, please, with that spirit. My message only today is for you, the youth of this country, and the women of this country. I think these are the most vulnerable and the most suffering in this nation. We want to tell you that you have lost the hope as youth, but that hope is not gone. The SPLM is still there. The store of the SPLM is still full with cadres and leaders who can put this country right. And even our leader, the chairman, I will just say, in our tradition, sometimes a man can go into some hands, some women who can take care good of you. You will abandon your children. Today we are telling Comrade Chairman, come back to your house. This is the message we are saying today. He has been eloped by, I have to be awed a bit by those concubines. Your children are looking for you. This is the main message. And here they are. Today, you, the public, would like to remind you that this country, I would like to assure you that this country will remain secure and peaceful. There will be no any crisis which will affect the tranquility of this nation. And that is the reason for this press conference. I urge you, the youth, please not to follow tribal leaders, follow leaders who have a vision and a mission for you. Here in Southern Sudan, there's no base for a tribe. Let us build a nation free from tribalism. Let us fight tribalism. Let not a leader lose his position and go back to mobilize his tribesmen. I'm sure you out there, you don't share his fat salaries, the salaries we get. The situation you are in, we are sitting here all. You know that all our families, all our children are eating ice cream, are playing with, how do you call the toys?
PlayStation.
And you down there, he or she who has no a person in the government, you don't know what is called ice cream. Your child doesn't know what is called ice cream. Your child doesn't know the toy. And I do say always that we are foreigners ruling you. We are foreigners ruling you because we don't know the state of the hospitals, because our women do deliver in a very good hospitals. When we get a headache, we get to go to Nairobi or to Uganda. And this is the state of affairs we are in. So when we are talking today, it is we also who are here to question ourselves. Have we been doing things rightly or wrongly? And this is what you have to get informed as people of this country. So you young guys, this is your future. You are future leaders, but it will not start tomorrow. It has to start today. You have to know the states or affairs of your own country. All of you, I'm sure if you are asked, some of you have some names, like if it is in Denga, that I'm sure there is Budik, there is Kwerik, there is Bilifam, and all those. These are the names. Is you were born in those places. And today, what you have suffered for, what made you not to enjoy the parenthood, what made you not to enjoy your childhood, is today in your own eyes is being destroyed. Is being destroyed. It was use of yesterday, those of Pagana Mum and the rest. They were the one who have rise and fought for this nation. Today we are sitting, we are enjoying. Do you allow such that your father go and fight for to kill an animal and bring it home? Your mother cook it and then you give it to a guest. Imagine that situation.
Uninvited.
Uninvited guest. I tell you there will be time.
Ladies and gentlemen of the press,
Comrade, I have to tell you that I have to talk. And I will be talking. Thank you.
retreated from the idea of suspending, of dissolving it for its meeting to take place on the 9th. As SPLM, members of the National Liberation Council and the Political Bureau will be attending and discussing these issues and will be working to resolve this crisis within the SPLM, and the SPLM will emerge stronger, united, in the right path, in the right vision, and in the right direction. Next week also, we'll witness a number of activities by the SPLM leaders. There's going to be a rally next week on Saturday, a public about the state of affairs of this national crisis and how to resolve it, to ensure that we maintain peace and we avoid a dictatorship taking place here. South Sudan must be a democratic state which respects human rights, the rights of our people, the rights for which and freedom for which we fought for. There are going to be a number of activities, and these leaders, from now onward, they are going to talk to the public, so they are all available to discuss all their issues. Whether it is Taban Dengai, you want to ask him how, whether it was constitutional for him to be removed or unconstitutional, now you can ask him. Whether you want to interview Dengalor to discuss the details of the false case against him, he is available. Whether it is Mama Rebecca, whether really we have lost the way, the road of John Garang, or we are on the way, ask her. Whether it is Choltong or Alfred Lado and all other leaders here. And I'm happy that our minister of information is here. Because South Sudan is a democratic country, we definitely would want to ensure that this press conference is covered, that this press conference is covered by our national TV today. And we ask him to have a very important conference which is engaging us in a national debate to resolve our crisis and find our way to freedom, peace, and prosperity. We are going to give 3 opportunities for questions. As you have seen, we have detailed our position. We have also a written position. We will give 3 opportunities to...
I left cabinet on the 23rd July when the president dismissed me and dissolved the cabinet. I was not aware of such an amount to have been borrowed or loaned from anybody. I'm aware of the following. I know during the austerity measures, when we went into austerity measures, we had no reserves. We made a budget. In that budget, there was an amount which was stipulated to be got from loans. It was 2 billion South Sudanese pounds. Now, in the process to cover the gap in the budget, in the process of getting such loans, we said we start from inside domestic borrowing. I personally convened a meeting of all the banks in South Sudan to convey to them the decision of the government, and based on the budget, that we would like to get loans from the banks. We also realized that the banks had no customers because, as you know, our situation in South Sudan, we lack security guarantees, that is collateral. So the bank had a lot of cash with less people borrowing from them. So we said, let's do business. Government and the banks will issue banks what is called treasury bills, and then they will give us cash. I do remember the figure that the government loaned from the banks with exchange of treasury bills was 900 million South Sudanese pounds. That I know. I also know when we realized that the banks cannot give more than what they have given, we decided that we look for loans from external. We started with our partners in the oil. The oil companies that are dealing with us. I remember that they borrowed us, we loaned from them $250 million US dollars. This is the Chinese company, the Malaysian. That is a figure.
April this year.
Yeah, April this year. Again, when we were still having difficulties, some of the off-takers, that is, those who buy our oil, one of them, Trafigura, gave 200 million US dollars. That is the amount I knew the day I was dismissed. But here I heard the Minister of Finance saying they are servicing a debt of 4.5 billion US dollars. For heaven's sake, where did it come from? So it's 450 US dollars, 900 million South Sudanese. If there was any other loan, I don't know. I know Deng Alor was head of the, or assisting head of the austerity committee.
He was the chair.
He was the chair of the austerity committee. I believe he will testify. So we don't know about 4.2 billion, 4.5 billion that is being used as an excuse for delay of payment of salaries. This is question one. Question two, which was asked in Arabic. Whether it is change of vision, is it crisis of vision or crisis of personalities? It is both. It is both. Because we have told you clearly, and in actual fact, this came from a report. If some of you would remember that the leaders of the SPLM were asked to go and thank the people of South Sudan in year 2012. I was told to go to Lakes. The Secretariat General assigned me to go to Lakes. I didn't choose to go to Lakes. And in actual fact, it was the Secretariat in Lakes that informed me that I have been asked to head the SPLM delegation for the Thanksgiving in Lakes. So I had to confirm with them. Is that true? They said yes. Am I going alone? They said, you have a secretariat. It was not only me alone, others were asked to go to the rest of the states. I went to Lakes twice. In the first visit, I spent 8 days visiting all the counties. And in one of the counties, I visited most of the Payams. The people were speaking. What we heard was the SPLM has lost vision and direction. So my committee from the Secretariat was taking notes. I told them to write the report. When they wrote the report and they brought it to my office, I looked at it. I said, yes, I have heard all this. But is it the verdict of Lakes alone that the SPLM has lost vision? I was so concerned. I said we must go back to the state and call the whole Secretariat and the State Liberation Council and the State Caucus so that they listen to the report. I didn't want to take a report which they might not appreciate. When our report was read, we were surprised by the Secretariat that they have also a report. The State Secretariat. When I told them, read your report. It wasn't different from the report that was written by my delegation from what they heard verbatim in Lakes State. Now, I said, okay, in this case, let's have one joint report. Unfortunately, some of us don't face facts. The SPLM chairperson of Lakes refused to go to that mission on the pretext that he was chairing the assembly meetings as acting speaker. And in the second, when I said the report must be read in front of the SPLM leadership in Lakes, whether it is the executive or the state or the party, he also created a mission, escaping what the people are saying. I thought my report was the only bad report. To be surprised, when all the reports were combined, they didn't differ from the report of Lakes. So it's the verdict of status of the SPLM. So it's the people, it's the members of the SPLM that have recognized that the SPLM has lost vision and direction. Therefore, vision doesn't come without the people. Vision is driven by the leadership and the people follow. If the political bureau is not going to be held, or you meant the National Liberation Council?
The National Liberation Council.
Well, in our statement we said we are calling on the chairman to convene the Politburo. First, before the Secretary General was suspended, Comrade Paganamum, he had asked the chairman to call the Politburo. Says the chairman can call the political bureau or the National Liberation Council on his own initiative or on the recommendation of the Secretary General, or 1/3 of the members of the Politburo, or 1/3 of the National Liberation Council, if it is National Liberation Council. He has asked the chairman to call it 8 times. The chairman ignored it. When others tried to persuade him after, and I give credit to Nial Deng Nial, who 1/3 of the Politburo will ask you to call the Politburo. You better call the Politburo. And then he asked Comrade Dan to call, this time not Politburo, but the dismissed ministers. We were also, although I'm not a minister, I'm vice president, I was asking questions, will I be there if it is going to be for the ministers? The ministers were also ready for that meeting. When the day came, Comrade Chairman denied knowledge of the meeting, of the agenda of the meeting, when it were his instructions. Now, the day he spoke opening this SPLM leadership office on the 15th of November, there was a scheduled meeting of the National Liberation Council, of which we all prepared. But to be surprised with his statement where he said all the structures are dysfunctional, all the structures have dissolved themselves except his own office. Where on earth would his office be functional when the rest are not? Where on earth the other institutions will be dissolved and his office will not be dissolved? And also added injury to the insult by saying he has now all the powers even to form a committee. In this constitution, the structures of the SPLM dissolve when at each level, when the ordinary session of a Congress is on, they dissolve. Once the ordinary session is called, before it ends, they are also reconstituted. This is the SPLM constitution. There is nowhere where the chairperson or any group of people would dissolve structures of the SPLM. So if Comrade Sher is going to say, well, I'm not going to call the Politburo, those of us who will gather the courage to sit and say, can we sign 7 of us? One third of 19 is 7. We have not yet said to do that. To say, Comrade Chair, we want the Politburo to be called. We are now only calling it, breaking our silence. If he doesn't call it, 7 of us will sit and say, Comrade Chair, let's call the Politburo. The Politburo still has to discuss the 4 documents. They were not conclusive. The Minister of Information and Broadcasting was actually our repertoire. The last political Beirut meeting, he was going to clean it up, the constitution, and then the manifesto. And then we will review it. After that, a vote, hopefully, or consensus is reached for those documents to be taken to the National Liberation Council. This has not been done. And therefore, we are calling for the chairperson to call the Politburo. If he doesn't, we resort to the Constitution. We resort to the Constitution. 1/3 can ask him to call it. Last, well, we want the National Liberation Council to be held. We have been longing for it. The last 5 years, it will be the 3rd Liberation Council, when at least our Constitution says at least once a year. So in the 5 years, if the 9th scheduled meeting is going to take place, this will be the 3rd. We're falling short in our obligations. So we'll use our Constitution to ensure that the SPLM is revitalized and refocused and goes in its correct direction. I think these were the 3 questions.